The knife sliced through the apple with a crisp snap. But Billy's hand shook so bad the juice sprayed across the cutting board like blood from a fresh wound. "You're a disgrace to this family, William. Pack your shit and get out before I drag you out myself." His father's voice echoed in his skull. 20 years later, as real as the scar on his palm from that same kitchen fight. He dropped the knife, watching it clatter into the sink, and gripped the edge of the counter until his knuckles bleached white, because tonight, in this cramped Brooklyn walk-up, the ghosts weren't just whispering, they were screaming. Billy Harlan wiped his hands on a dish towel that smelled faintly of yesterday's takeout Thai, staring out the grimy window at the fire escape where pigeons roost like judgmental old men. 32 years old, and he still woke up some nights tasting the bile of that ultimatum, the way his mother's silence had sealed it like wax on a death sentence. "Faggot." His brother had spat from the doorway, arms crossed like he was guarding the gates of some holy suburb in Ohio. They'd erased him clean, phone lines cut, bank accounts frozen, his name scrubbed from the family Bible like a typo in God's ledger. Billy had hitchhiked to New York with $40 and a duffel bag, crashing on strangers' couches until the city chewed him up and spat him out whole, somehow. Now he slung drinks at a dive bar in Williamsburg, where the hipsters tipped in crypto and the jukebox played Springsteen on loop, a cruel nod to the Rust Belt heart he'd fled. He wasn't bitter, not anymore. Or so he told himself as he poured another whiskey neat, the burn chasing away the chill of November rain pattering against the pane. Therapy had been a bust. Too many sessions rehashing the same wound until the shrink suggested crystals. For Christ's sake. No. Billy's armor was thicker now. A rotation of grinder hookups that never lingered past dawn. A cat named Whiskey who judged him less than his own reflection. And a tattoo on his ribs that read Outcast in faded script. A reminder that survival was its own middle finger to the world. But armor cracked. Didn't it? Especially when the door buzzed at 2 a.m., unannounced and insistent, like fate with a vendetta. Billy shuffled to the intercom, squinting at the grainy feed. A guy in a wool overcoat, mid-40s maybe, face half-shadowed by a fedora that screamed film noir reject. "Delivery for William Harlan." The voice crackled, smooth as aged bourbon but edged with something urgent. Billy's gut twisted. Junk mail didn't come at this hour, and he hadn't ordered shit. He hit the buzzer anyway, curiosity outweighing the paranoia that had kept him alive this long. The elevator groaned like an old drunk, and when the doors parted, there stood Albert Voss, all sharp jawline and haunted eyes, holding a manila envelope sealed with red wax. "You Billy?" Albert asked, voice low, like he was afraid the walls had ears. Close. He was taller than the feed suggested, broad-shouldered under that coat, with salt and pepper hair that made him look like he'd stepped off a Kerouac page. His eyes, though dark brown, flecked with gold, held a weariness that mirrored Billy's own, the kind earned from too many miles on back roads and not enough sleep. "Yeah. And you are." Billy leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, the whiskey still buzzing in his veins. He wasn't inviting this stranger in. Not yet, but damn if those eyes didn't pull like a riptide. "Albert. Drove from Cleveland. Your father sent this." He extended the envelope, fingers steady but knuckles scarred from God knows what. Fists or wrenches, Billy couldn't tell. The wax seal bore a Harlan crest, an eagle clutching arrows that Billy's granddad had carved into the family mantelback when patriotism meant something simpler. Billy snatched it like it was laced with anthrax, his heart slamming against his ribs. My father's dead to me. You wasted a tank of gas. But his voice cracked on the lie, and Albert's gaze softened, just a fraction, like he'd heard it 1,000 times before. He's not dead, Billy. Not yet. Albert's words hung there, heavy as the rain outside. Cancer. Stage 4. He made me promise to deliver this in person. Said if anyone could make you read it, it'd be a stranger, no baggage. Billy's laugh was bitter, scraping his throat raw. He tore the seal anyway, the paper crinkling under his thumbs like old bones. Inside, a single sheet, handwriting shaky but unmistakable. Dad's block letters, the ones that used to sign report cards with pride. Son, I was wrong. God, I was so wrong. Come home. Please. Before it's too late. No apologies spelled out. No groveling. Just that plea. Raw and ragged. Dated 2 weeks ago. He crumpled it, heat flooding his face. Home? That place was a prison with picket fences. You tell him to rot in it. But Albert didn't flinch. Just stepped closer. Close enough that Billy caught the scent of pine and pipe tobacco. A Midwest ghost in his hallway. I read it on the drive, Albert admitted, voice dropping to a murmur. Your old man. He's broken, Billy. Regrets eating him alive. And me? I'm just the messenger who couldn't say no to a dying man's last wish. Billy's pulse thrummed. Anger and something softer warring in his chest. He should have slammed the door, called security, anything but this, standing there, envelope clutched like a grenade pin. Instead, he jerked his head toward the apartment. Whiskey's on the counter. You look like you need it more than I do. Albert hesitated, then crossed the threshold. The door clicking shut behind him like the first domino in a chain reaction neither could stop. They talked, or rather, Albert talked, spinning tales of the road, hauling freight from Cleveland to Chicago, dodging blizzards and bad debts, the kind of life that made Billy's bar shifts seem glamorous. Billy listened, nursing his drink, the letter burning a hole in his pocket. Albert's laugh was rare but real, rumbling low when Billy cracked wise about Ohio's flat-ass horizon. And by the time the rain eased to a drizzle, the stranger felt less like an intruder and more like a port in the storm. You ever think about going back? Albert asked finally, elbows on the scarred oak table, eyes tracing Billy's face like he was memorizing it. Every damn day, Billy confessed, surprising himself. Not to forgive. Just to spit on the welcome mat and drive away. But the words tasted hollow now, laced with the ache of what-ifs. Albert reached across, his hand covering Billy's, rough palm against smooth, a spark jumping like static on wool. No words, just that touch, steady and unyielding, pulling Billy under like the East River at high tide. By dawn, the envelope lay unopened on the floor, forgotten amid tangled sheets and whispered confessions. Albert's coat hung on the chair, his hat tipped over Whiskey's water bowl, and Billy let himself believe, for one reckless night, that letters from the dead could rewrite the living. Sunlight sliced through the blinds like accusatory fingers, painting stripes across Albert's bare back as he stirred, sheets pooling at his waist. Billy watched him from the doorway, coffee mug steaming in his grip, the domesticity of it all hitting like a sucker punch. Last night had been a blur of hands and heat, Albert's mouth mapping Billy's collarbone, his growls low and fervent as they collided on the lumpy futon. No awkward fumblings, no second-guessing, just two men, adrift and desperate, anchoring to each other in the dim glow of a lava lamp Billy had salvaged from a curb. "Mornin'," Albert mumbled, rolling over with a lazy grin that crinkled the corners of his eyes. He stretched, muscles coiling under tanned skin marked by faded tattoos. A compass rose on his forearm. Wanderer scripted across his pec in block letters that screamed ex-military or ex-con. Billy's gaze lingered, heat pooling low despite the chill seeping from the floorboards. "Coffee," Billy offered, voice rough from disuse and something deeper, vulnerability. Maybe the kind he hadn't let loose since college, when a fumbling kiss behind the frat house had cost him his scholarship dreams. Albert sat up, sheets tenting just enough to make Billy's mouth dry. "Black, 2 sugars. You read the mind of a trucker yet?" He winked, but his eyes held that same shadow from last night, the one that spoke of burdens carried too long. Billy handed over the mug, their fingers brushing electric, intentional. He sank onto the edge of the bed, the letter's weight in his pocket a lead anchor. "About that. Why you? Dad's got a Rolodex thicker than a phone book. Priests, lawyers, hell, even that cousin who sells Amway. Why send a rando with a death wish?" Albert sipped, wincing at the heat, then set the mug aside. "Not a rando. Met your old man at a diner off I-71 last month. He was... hell, Billy, he was a ghost. Skin and bones. I sunk like he'd been digging his own grave. Bought me pancakes. Asked about my route. Turns out we both lost boys. Mine to the war, his to pride." He paused, thumb tracing the mug's rim. "Said you were the best of them. Smart, stubborn, with a laugh that could light up a blackout. Then he shoved that envelope at me, like it was contraband." Billy's throat tightened, the praise twisting like a knife. Dad's voice in his head, the one from Little League days, cheering louder than anyone when Billy struck out the side. That man had vanished the night Billy came out, over a Thanksgiving turkey gone cold. Stubborn. Yeah. That's code for too gay to forgive. He forced a smirk, but it died on his lips when Albert's hand found his knee, squeezing with a gentleness that belied his road-worn edges. "Forgiveness ain't about them, kid. It's about you not carrying their shit anymore." Albert's voice was gravel and grace, pulling Billy in like a confession booth. They kissed then, slow and searching, coffee forgotten as hands roamed. Billy's fingers threading through Albert's hair, tugging just hard enough to elicit a moan that vibrated against his skin. The day unfolded lazy, a rarity in Billy's grind. They wandered the promenade along the East River, wind whipping off the water sharp as a slap. Albert pointed out ferries like an old salt, spinning yarns about hauling lobster traps in Maine before the draft yanked him to Nam. Billy shared scraps, the bar's leaky roof, the drag queen who tipped in glitter bombs, the way New York's pulse drowned out the homesick hum in his veins. By afternoon, they were back in the apartment, takeout lo mein cooling on the counter while Albert sketched Billy's face on a napkin, charcoal smudges on his fingertips like war paint. "You're beautiful when you're unguarded," Albert murmured, pencil pausing mid-stroke. Billy flushed, ducking his head. Beautiful wasn't a word he'd claimed, not with the mirror's cruel tally of laugh lines and regrets. "Flattery gets you laid. Was." But he leaned in, capturing Albert's mouth, the kiss deepening until they tumbled back, clothes shedding like old skin. It was different this time, less frenzy, more reverence. Albert's lips trailing fire down Billy's chest, whispering praises in the dark that made Billy arch and gasp, chasing the edge where pain met pleasure. Night fell heavy, the city humming beyond the walls, but inside it was just them, tangled limbs, shared breaths, the letter a specter at the bedside. Billy woke to Albert's phone buzzing, the screen lighting his face in harsh blue. "Boss," he explained, voice thick with sleep. "Gotta roll out tomorrow. Deadhead to Philly. Then south." Billy's stomach dropped, the intimacy fracturing like thin ice. "Stay," he said, the words slipping out unbidden, raw as an exposed nerve. Albert's hand stilled on Billy's hip. "Can't. Road's my blood, Billy. But this," he gestured between them, ice fierce. "This ain't a pit stop." Dawn came too soon, Albert's taillights vanishing into the Brooklyn haze, leaving Billy with a scribbled number on his fridge and the envelope mocking him from the nightstand. He tore it open fully this time, reading Dad's scrawl by the light of his phone. Details of the cancer, the chemo that hadn't stuck, the empty house where Mom had drunk herself silent years ago. "I erased you to save us, son. But I lost everything instead. One chance. That's all I got left." Billy's vision blurred, tears hot and unwelcome. He dialed the number Albert had left, voicemail picking up with a beep. "Hey. It's me. Don't ghost a ghoster. All right? Call when you can." He hung up, chest heaving, and grabbed his coat. The bar opened at noon. Shifts waited, but so did the ghosts. That night, pouring IPAs for a bachelorette party gone rowdy. Billy's phone lit up, Albert's name. A text, "Miss your laugh already. Thinking of you under those stars we can't see in this city." Billy grinned, thumbs flying. Stars are overrated. Come back for the skyline. Flirtation, easy as breathing, but underneath it churned the letter's poison, seeping into dreams where Dad's face morphed into Albert's, both reaching, both vanishing. Weeks blurred. Albert's texts a lifeline, sporadic but steady photos of neon-lit truck stops, voice notes thick with longing. Billy sent back bar selfies, whiskey's glare, snippets of poetry he'd scribbled on coasters. It felt like courtship in the analog age, electric and fragile. Then, the call came, Albert's voice crackling over static. "Your dad's asking for you again." I told him I'd bring you if you came." Billy's grip whitened on the bar rag. "You what? He thinks we're something. And hell, Billy, we are." Silence stretched, taut as a bowstring. "Come with me. Face it. Or burn it. But do it with me." The hook sank deep, reeling Billy toward the unknown. He booked the bus ticket that night, heart pounding like a war drum, Albert's promise echoing. Together. The Greyhound lurched out of Port Authority like a beast shaking off sleep, exhaust belching into the Manhattan scrum. Billy slouched in a window seat, duffel at his feet stuffed with clean socks and the letter, folded now, a talisman or a curse. He couldn't decide. Albert waited in Cleveland, his pickup idling outside the terminal like a faithful hound. But the miles ahead felt endless, each mile marker a milepost to the grave he dug for his past. Sleep evaded him, the bus's rumble a poor substitute for Albert's snores. Instead, memories clawed free, the Harlan homestead in Dayton, white clapboard and American flags snapping in the breeze, where Sunday barbecues masked the rot beneath. Dad, Tom Harlan, foreman at the GM plant, hands blackened with grease and glory, teaching Billy to throw a curveball with a wink and a, "That's my boy, Mom." Soft-spoken Evelyn, baking pies that won county fairs, her hugs scented with vanilla and veiled disapproval. Then brother Jake, the golden child, straight as an arrow, marrying his high school sweetheart at 20 while Billy choked on secrets in the attic. Coming out had been a detonation. Dinner table ambush, Billy's voice steady as he said, "I'm gay, Dad. And I'm done hiding." Tom's fork clattered, face purpling like overripe tomatoes. "Under my roof? No son of mine." The slaps came later, Jake's fists in the driveway, Mom's sobs from the kitchen window. By morning, Billy was persona non grata, bank cards canceled, his college fund rerouted to Jake's real future, erased, like he'd been a smudge on the family portrait. The bus hit Ohio at dusk, flatlands unfolding like a faded postcard. Albert was there, leaning against his Ford F-150, cigarette dangling unlit from his lips. He crushed Billy in a hug that smelled of diesel and desire, murmuring, "You came," like it was a miracle. Billy clung back, the tension uncoiling just enough to breathe. They drove in companionable quiet, radio crooning Johnny Cash's "Hurt," the lyrics a scalpel to Billy's ribs. Albert's hand rested on his thigh, thumb tracing lazy circles, an anchor in the storm. "House is 10 minutes out," he said finally, voice neutral. "Your dad's alone now. Jake's in Atlanta, some sales gig. Mom, gone 5 years. Liver gave out." Billy nodded, jaw clenched. Grief for Evelyn flickered, unbidden her final call, slurred and desperate, begging forgiveness he'd withheld. She picked sides, always did. But she regretted it. Billy wrote you letters she never sent. Albert glanced over. "I soft. Your old man's got a stack of 'em. Unopened, like time capsules." The Harlan house loomed, porch light flickering like a dying firefly, the eagle carving on the mantel visible through the screen door. Billy's stomach nodded, bile rising. Albert killed the engine, turning to him fully. "You don't have to go in. We turn around, hit the road. My rig's gassed for anywhere." But Billy shook his head, steeling himself. "No. This ends tonight." He stepped out, gravel crunching under boots, Albert a shadow at his back. Tom Harlan answered the knock with a rasp, oxygen tank hissing like a serpent at his side. Frail as ash, cheeks hollowed, but those eyes, blue as Billy's own, widened in shock. "William," the name cracked, a sob disguised as a cough. "Billy," he corrected, voice flat, arms rigid at his sides. No hug, no handshake, just the chasm of years gaping between them. Tom shuffled back, gesturing weakly. "Come in. Coffee's on." The living room was a museum of stagnation. Doilies yellowed, photos of Jake's kids grinning from mantels, Billy's high school portrait conspicuously absent. Albert hung by the door, a sentinel in flannel, his presence a quiet bulwark. They sat, awkward triad on sagging floral couches, Tom's hands trembling as he lit a cigarette, defying doctor's orders. "You look good, son. Strong." His gaze flicked to Albert, praising. "Who's this?" "Friend," Billy said curtly, the word underselling the man who'd become his compass. Albert nodded, silent, letting Billy steer. Tom exhaled smoke, wheezy. I owe you words. More than words." He reached for a shoebox on the coffee table, lid creaking open to reveal Evelyn's letters. Dozens, tied with faded ribbon. She wrote these after you left. Burned her up. What we did. Billy's fingers itched to snatch them, but he held back, venom rising. Words? You threw me out like trash. That froze my accounts. Told the neighbors I was troubled. Jake called me a pervert at the funeral, Moms. I assume you mean. Sarcasm dripped, sharp as shattered glass. Tom flinched, eyes glistening. Pride. Damn fool pride. Church group said it was a phase, a sin to fix. I believed him, thought I'd save you. A tear tracked down his cheek, carving a path through stubble. But I lost you. And her. Jake barely calls. House echoes like a tomb. Billy's chest heaved, the old rage surging. Save me? You erased me. I slept in alleys. That blue guys for rent money. That's your salvation. The words exploded. Venomous. Albert's hand finding his shoulder, a steadying touch amid the quake. Tom's face crumpled, sobs racking his frame. God forgive me. I know. That's why the letter. Why him? He nodded at Albert. He told me about you two on the phone. Said you're happy. Deserve it. Billy froze, betrayal flashing hot. You talked to him? About us? He whirled on Albert, eyes blazing. What the hell? Man, my life's not your goddamn road story. Albert's face paled, hands up in surrender. He called. Billy. Desperate. I mentioned we were seeing each other. Thought it'd give him hope. Hope. Billy laughed. Hollow. You don't get to play matchmaker with my pain. He stormed out, door slamming, night air slapping his face like rebuke. Albert followed, gravel skittering. Billy. Wait. No. Billy rounded, fists balled. You waltz in, deliver this bomb, fuck me senseless, then spill to the man who broke me? That's not a friend. That's betrayal, wrapped in your pretty lies. Albert closed the distance, voice breaking. I panicked. He sounded so lost, like I did after Nam, burying my kid brother in a box too small. I wanted to help. For you. The admission hung, raw and real, Albert's eyes pleading. Billy's anger cracked, tears spilling free. I needed you on my side. Oh. Not his. They stood there, inches apart, the house's porch light casting long shadows. Albert pulled him close, arms iron bands. I am. Always. The kiss was salt and fury, reconciliation forged in the driveway's grit. Inside, Tom waited, box of letters extended like an olive branch. Billy took it, weight heavy with what-ifs. Forgiveness? Not yet. But the door cracked open, just a sliver, let in light enough to see the road ahead. Dawn broke over Dayton like a reluctant apology. Pink streaks bleeding into the sky as Billy and Albert loaded the truck with Tom's gifts. Evelyn's letters, a tarnished baseball mitt from Billy's youth, a check for 10 grand scrawled in shaky script, for the life I stole. No strings. Billy pocketed it without a word, the paper crackling like dry leaves underfoot. Tom watched from the porch, bundled in a quilt that swallowed his frame, waving feeble as a child as the F-150 rumbled away. Call me, he'd rasped, eyes locking on Billy's. Even if it's to curse me out. Billy had nodded, throat too tight for lies or promises. Now, Miles south on I-75, the heartland blurred past. Cornfields whispering secrets to the wind. Billboards hawking Jesus and fried chicken like twin gospels. Albert drove, one hand on the wheel, the other laced with Billy's, thumb stroking knuckles in silent Morse. "I'm here." "You okay?" Albert ventured, voice careful as stepping on thin ice. Billy stared at the dashboard, letters bundled in his lap like contraband. "Don't know. Last night. I didn't expect to feel this." He tapped the box. "Hate him still. But it's smaller now. Like the poison's draining." Albert squeezed his hand. "That's progress, cowboy. Ain't gotta be forgiveness overnight." His grin flashed, boyish despite the lines etched by sun and sorrow. "Besides, we've got Philly waiting. My buddy's got a loft, views of the Schuylkill. Better than this flatbread state." Laughter bubbled up, surprising Billy, easing the knot in his chest. They stopped at a Waffle House off the interstate, syrup-sticky plates and bottomless Joe. Albert's knee bumping Billy's under the Formica table. Flirtation sparked easy, Albert's foot hooking his ankle, whispers about making up for lost time that had the waitress smirking into her notepad. For hours, the road was theirs, playlists swapping Dylan for DeFranco, stories unfurling like highway ribbons. Albert confessed the compass tattoo marked his brother's dog tags, lost in a rice paddy ambush. Billy admitted the Outcast ink was inked drunk after his first breakup, a bartender's pity needle. By Philly's glow, the tension had thawed to embers. The loft was as promised, exposed brick, king bed piled with quilts, skyline twinkling like a flirt. They made love slow, deliberate. Albert's mouth worshipping Billy's scars, real and imagined, his whispers a litany of beautiful and mine. Billy surrendered, body arching under hands that mapped him like uncharted stars, climax crashing like waves on Liberty Bell concrete. But embers flare. Morning brought Jake's call voicemail, voice slick as used car sales. "Heard you're in town, Billy. Dad's on his last legs. Family meeting at the house. Don't make a scene." The implication stung. Old wounds reopening. Jake, the enforcer, now playing patriarch from his Atlanta McMansion. Billy deleted it, but the barb lodged deep. "He thinks he can summon me like a errant puppy," he snarled, pacing the loft while Albert brewed espresso. "Go," Albert urged, cup extended like a shield. "End it proper. I'll drive neutral ground." The return to Dayton was a funeral march, silence thick as fog. Jake answered the door in khakis and polo, arms open for a hug. Billy dodged. "Billy. Been too long." His smile was plastic, eyes scanning Albert like a threat assessment. "Save it, Jake." "Where's Dad?" "Upstairs." Tom lay propped in bed, monitors beeping a dirge. Jake hovered, explaining hospice like a pitch. "He's comfortable. Docs say days." "Maybe." But his gaze on Billy was steel, accusatory, possessive. Tom's eyes lit at the sight, frail hand beckoning. "Boys." Together. Jake sat stiffly, Albert a wall at Billy's back. Words tumbled. Tom's regrets, Evelyn's hidden love, Jake's complicity masked as protecting the family name. Billy listened, then unleashed, the hunger pangs in NYC subways, the AIDS scare in '98 that nearly broke him, the parade of lovers who fled his baggage. "You erased me, all of you." "For what?" "God's scorecard." Jake bristled. "It was tough love. Billy. You were spiraling parties. That scene. We saved you from yourself. Saved. Billy's voice rose, venom pure. I saved myself, while you hid behind pickets and prayers. He turned to Tom. And you, letting him speak for you? Even now. Tom wheezed, tears streaming. No, son. Jake. He carried my hate. I was coward. Cough racked him. Blood flecked. Forgive? Can't ask. But know I love you. Always did. Gay or not. The room spun, Billy's knees buckling. Albert steadied him. Whisper fierce. Breathe. Jake's face twisted shock. Then shame, as Tom's hand found Billy's, grip weak but true. Get out. Jake. Tom rasped. Let me talk to my boy. Brother fled, tail between legs, leaving the air charged. Tom pressed a key into Billy's palm house deed, split with Jake but Billy's share undisputed. Yours. Sell it. Burn it. But come back. Please. Billy clutched it, sobs breaking free. I'll try, Dad. The words cost him, but they freed something vast. Downstairs, Jake waited. Apology wouldn't. Didn't know. Man. Thought it was phase. Billy waved it off. Too raw for bridges. Figure it out, bro. Without me. The drive away was cathartic. Tears drying to salt tracks. Albert pulled over at a rest stop, pulling Billy into the cab's nook. Proud of you, he murmured, lips brushing temple. But Billy's high crashed. Jake's text, Dad's gone. Heart gave out. Funeral Saturday. Grief hit like a semi, Billy shattering against Albert's chest. Betrayals echo, family fractured, love's fragility laid bare. Yet in Albert's arms, under sodium lamps, Billy whispered, Don't leave me too. Never, Albert vowed, kiss sealing it like oath. The funeral was a study in Midwestern restraint. Folding chairs on astroturf, carnations wilting under fluorescent hum. Jake's eulogy a checklist of Tom's virtues, provider, veteran, pillar, omitting the cracks like footnotes in a hagiography. Billy sat front row, Albert's hand a secret tether under the program, the weight of eyes from distant cousins boring into his back. Whispers slithered, That's the one who. You know, he wore the black button-down from his bar uniform, tie knotted crooked, Evelyn's letters tucked in his breast pocket like armor. Jake caught him after, by the casket pine box, flag draped, Tom's face waxed serene. Thanks for coming, Jake muttered, handshake limp. Dad. He lit up. Last days. Talking about you. Billy nodded, throat parched. Letters helped. Mom's words. A beat. Then, you read 'em. Jake flushed. Some. Wish I had sooner. No grovel. But the crack was there enough for now. They exchanged numbers, tentative as new buds after frost. The wake blurred. Jello salads and casseroles. Aunts pressing hugs that smelled of mothballs and mercy. Albert charmed them effortless. Stories of Tom's diner wisdom. A toast that had Uncle Ray dabbing eyes. Billy watched, heart swelling. This man, who'd crashed his exile like a comet, fitting seamless into the fray. Nightfall brought them to a roadside motel outside town. Neon vacancy buzzing like fireflies. The room was threadbare, floral bedspread, TV static-laced but sanctuary. They showered together, water scalding away the day's grime, Albert's soapy hands gentle on Billy's back. "You're free now," he whispered, nipping earlobe. "No more chains." Billy turned, pressing close, water sheeting between. "With you? Yeah." The lovemaking was worship. Slow grinds, gasps echoing off tile. Billy's nails raking Albert's shoulders as release built, cresting in shudders and sighs. Afterward, wrapped in thin towels, they lay on the bed, ceiling fan whirring lazy. Billy traced Albert's tattoos, voice soft. "What's next?" "Road's calling you." Albert propped on elbow, gaze steady. "Us, Billy. If you want. Ditch the bar, come haul with me. See the country proper. Or stay, build here. Your call." The offer hung, vast as the plains beyond. Billy thought of New York, its grind, its glitter, the anonymity that had saved him but starved his soul. Then Tom gone, but echoes lingering in the deed key, a tether to roots reclaimed. And Albert, steady, scarred, the stranger who'd delivered not just a letter, but salvation. "I want you," Billy said, simple as truth. "All of it. Road, roots, whatever, as long as it's us." He pulled Albert down, kiss deepening promise. Months spun. Billy sold his share of the house, splitting proceeds with Jake for a clean slate. He quit the bar, joined Albert's rig, cross-country hauls, diner dawns, nights in sleeper cabs where love unfolded under star-pricked skies. They fought, petty over routes, deep over scars, but made up fiercer, bonds forging steel from silk. One June evening, parked at a Wyoming overlook, Grand Tetons jagged against sunset, Albert knelt in the gravel, ring glinting, simple band, engraved wanderer found. "Marry me, Billy Harlan. Let's make the erasures permanent, yours and mine, rewritten together." Tears pricked, joy sharp as first light. "Hell yes," Billy choked, pulling him up into embrace. They stood there, silhouettes against the blaze, the world vast and welcoming. Back in Dayton for Jake's tentative Thanksgiving, tables groaning, kids tumbling, no ghosts unchast. Billy raised a glass, voice steady. To Tom and Evelyn. They tried. In the end, Jake clinked, eyes wet, to family. Real kind. Later, under the same stars Billy once fled, Albert's arm around his waist, Billy whispered, "You delivered more than a letter. You brought me home." Albert kissed his temple. "Nah. You were always home. Just needed the map." In the quiet, with cicadas chorusing and hearts synced, Billy knew erasure was myth. Love, fierce, flawed, enduring, wrote the only story that mattered. And theirs spanned horizons, unbreakable as the American dream they'd claimed, on their terms.